Have you ever had that strange moment where you look at your life and think, how did I end up here? And why does it feel like something is missing? If you clicked on this video, it wasn't an accident. You felt that pull inside you, that little voice whispering that you're meant for more. And today, we're going to talk about the exact moment where everything starts to shift. Because right now, whether you realize it or not, you're standing at a crossroads. One path keeps you exactly where you've always been, and the other leads to a version of you that you've been avoiding, postponing, or convincing yourself you're not ready for. But let me tell you this, you clicked for a reason, and by the time you finish this video, you'll understand why this moment, right now, is the most important turning point of your life.
The real reason your life hasn't changed yet isn't because you're lazy, unlucky, or not built for success. It's because you've been living on autopilot without even realizing it. Most people wake up every day repeating the same thoughts, the same routines, the same excuses, and then wonder why everything feels identical year after year. And the scary part? Your brain is trained to keep you exactly where you are, because comfort, even miserable comfort, feels safer than the unknown. It's the quiet trap no one talks about, the habits you don't question, the environment you don't challenge, the stories you tell yourself just to survive another day. You're not stuck because you're incapable. You're stuck because your mind has mastered the art of keeping you small. And once you see that, once you feel that uncomfortable truth hit you, something inside you starts waking up. And that's the beginning of everything. A few days after that moment, he found himself sitting alone in his car, engine off, lights dim, surrounded by the silence he always tried to avoid. He watched people walking past, some laughing, some rushing somewhere, some talking about plans he knew he should have been making himself. And for the first time, he felt like life was moving forward without him, like everyone else had stepped onto a train he somehow kept missing. He realized he'd been living the same month over and over again, calling it a year. And that realization didn't break him, it woke him. Because he understood something terrifying. The version of him who had potential, energy, and big dreams, that version was slowly disappearing every time he chose comfort instead of growth, excuses instead of effort, and fear instead of trying. He sat there gripping the steering wheel, heart racing, thinking, if I don't change now, will I ever? And that question stayed with him, echoing louder than any regret, pushing him toward the decision he'd avoided for years, the decision to finally take control of his life. A few weeks later, he met an old friend, someone he hadn't seen in years. They sat across from each other at a small cafe, and as they talked, he noticed the spark in his friend's eyes, the confidence, the movement, the growth. It was subtle, but it was real. His friend spoke about the risks he took, the mistakes he made, the opportunities he chased even when he wasn't ready. And for the first time, he felt a sharp sting, not jealousy, but realization. He wasn't behind because he wasn't capable. He was behind because he kept waiting for perfect conditions that never came. And as he listened, he could almost hear his own excuses dissolving. He understood a painful truth. Life rewards the ones who move, not the ones who wait. And that night, he couldn't sleep. His mind kept replaying every moment he had postponed, every chance he didn't take, every time he told himself, I'll start when I feel prepared. He stared at the ceiling and felt the weight of wasted potential pressing down on him like a warning. For the first time, he recognized that there are two types of people, those who change when things become uncomfortable, and those who only change when the discomfort becomes unbearable. And in that quiet moment, he realized he was dangerously close to becoming the second type, the person who waits until life forces them to move. That thought stayed with him, sharper than fear, louder than regret, and it pushed him toward a choice he could no longer delay. He once met someone who told him a simple sentence that shook him more than any failure ever had. You're not waiting to be ready. You're waiting to feel comfortable failing. it hit him like a punch. Because deep down he knew it was true. He wasn't avoiding the work, he was avoiding the possibility of not being good enough at something new. He had built this comforting illusion that one day he would wake up and magically have the courage, confidence, and clarity he needed to start. But that day never came. Instead, every day he waited, the fear grew stronger and the lie felt safer. It became a shield, one that protected his ego but suffocated his growth. And as he watched other people move forward, he realized they weren't braver or smarter. They just stopped waiting to feel ready. They acted anyway. And that's when it hit him. Every major change in his life happened while he was unprepared. Every risk, every breakthrough, every moment he was proud of. Nothing great ever came from the comfortable version of him. It came from the scared, uncertain, imperfect version who decided to move anyway. The lie of "I'll start tomorrow" had stolen years from him, one tiny excuse at a time. And suddenly he understood the painful truth. Your future doesn't need a perfect version of you. It needs a willing one. The moment you stop listening to the lie, you stop living your life on pause. And for the first time, he felt something powerful rising inside him, not confidence, but responsibility. The kind that forces you to choose. Do you keep lying to yourself, or do you finally rewrite the story?
He remembered the exact moment the shift happened. It wasn't during some motivational speech or a life-changing event. It was on an ordinary afternoon when he caught himself repeating the same old excuse he'd used 1,000 times. But this time, instead of letting it pass, something inside him snapped, not in anger, but in clarity. He finally saw how much of his life was built around avoiding discomfort, avoiding effort, avoiding responsibility. And for the first time, he didn't feel tired of trying, he felt tired of not trying. It was like waking up inside his own story and realizing he'd been living as a background character. That realization didn't motivate him, it challenged him. It forced him to confront the version of himself he no longer wanted to be. From that moment, things changed quietly but dramatically. He started doing small things differently, waking up earlier, saying no to distractions, taking the first step toward goals he once labeled someday. And the crazy thing, the momentum didn't come from motivation, it came from the simple decision to stop running from his potential. Every action, no matter how tiny, felt like a brick in the foundation of a new identity. He wasn't trying to become a different person anymore. He was finally becoming the person he always should have been. And with every choice, every step, he felt a fire growing inside him. Not the loud kind, but the steady kind that refuses to go out. That was the shift, the moment he stopped waiting for change and started creating it. He didn't start with some grand plan or a life-altering routine. He started with the smallest action he could think of. One morning, instead of hitting snooze for the 3rd time, he forced himself to sit up. Just sit up. It lasted maybe 5 seconds, but it broke a pattern he'd been repeating for years. And as simple as it was, it felt like a victory, a moment where he proved to himself that he wasn't controlled by his old habits. So the next day, he did something else. He cleaned the corner of his room he always avoided. It wasn't about neatness, it was about reclaiming control. That tiny act shifted something in his mind. He realized he didn't need to transform his entire life overnight. He just needed to disrupt the version of himself that kept postponing everything. Slowly, those small actions became daily declarations that he was done living passively. He started going for short walks, not to get fit, but to clear the fog in his mind. He opened a notebook and wrote down one thing he wanted to improve, not 10. And each time he did something uncomfortable but manageable, his confidence grew. Not from achieving something big, but from proving that he could show up for himself. That's when he understood the truth most people overlook. Big goals aren't built from dramatic moments. They're built from tiny decisions made consistently by someone who refuses to stay the same. Those small actions weren't just tasks. They were the beginning of a new identity forming brick by brick, choice by choice, day by day. He used to think change was about discipline or motivation, but one night, sitting alone with his thoughts, he realized something far more uncomfortable. His life wasn't stuck because of his habits. It was stuck because of his identity. He kept telling himself stories like, "I'm not a disciplined person. I'm not the kind who succeeds. I'm just built this way." Those sentences didn't describe him. They limited him. They were chains disguised as facts. And it hit him, slowly but painfully, that every time he said, "This is just who I am," he was defending the very identity that kept him small. That realization felt like a slap to the chest. For the first time, he saw that the person he believed himself to be was just a collection of old memories, old fears, and old choices he had outgrown. The shift began when he asked himself a question he had never dared to face. Who do I choose to become now? Not who his past said he was, not who his mistakes labeled him as, but who he wanted to be moving forward. And that question opened a door he didn't even know existed. He started imagining a version of himself who didn't run from responsibility, who didn't break promises to himself, who didn't crumble at the first sign of discomfort. A version of himself who was sharper, stronger, focused, disciplined. And the crazy thing? When he imagined that new identity long enough, he started acting like it, just a little at first. He sat straighter, he spoke differently, he made decisions that the old version of him never could. And that's when everything changed. Because identity shapes behavior, and behavior shapes destiny. He wasn't trying to improve anymore, he was reinventing. And once he took even one step into that new identity, he felt something powerful, almost addictive. The feeling of becoming someone he actually respected. That was the moment he understood the truth. Your future doesn't depend on who you were yesterday. It depends on who you decide to be today.
He once met a man who was 10 years older, sitting alone on a park bench early in the morning. They started talking, and the man said something he never forgot. "I didn't realize I was wasting my life until I ran out of years to waste." He wasn't bitter. He was tired. He explained how he kept telling himself he'd start next month, after things settle, when I'm ready. But life never waited. Responsibilities grew, energy faded, chances disappeared. He said the scariest day of his life wasn't when he failed at something. It was when he realized he was too old to chase what he always wanted. His regret wasn't about mistakes. It was about the dreams he never touched because he kept believing he had more time. Hearing that felt like a punch to the chest, a glimpse into a future nobody wants to live. Later that night, those words kept echoing in his mind. He imagined himself years from now, looking back at the younger version of him, the version sitting right here, right now, begging him to stop wasting time. And the vision terrified him, not because of failure, but because of the quiet possibility of waking up one day with nothing but almost, maybe, and I wanted to. He pictured himself older, watching someone younger achieving what he once dreamed of, and feeling that hollow sting of knowing it could have been me. That thought alone was enough to shake him. It made him see that staying the same wasn't safe. It was the most dangerous choice of all. Because life doesn't punish you suddenly. It punishes you slowly, by letting your potential fade one ignored decision at a time. And in that fear, a strange clarity rose inside him. He realized the real danger wasn't taking a risk. It was staying exactly where he was. Remaining the same was not neutral. It was decay. Every day he delayed, a piece of his future quietly died without him even noticing. And that's when he understood the warning that most people never hear until it's too late. If you don't change now, you won't just lose opportunities. You'll lose the version of yourself you were meant to become. He remembered a time when he believed he had already missed his chance, when he felt like life had moved ahead without him. One evening, he sat alone scrolling through old messages, old photos, old dreams he once talked about with excitement, but never acted on. For a moment, he felt that familiar ache, that sinking feeling that maybe he had waited too long, wasted too many years, made too many excuses. But then something unexpected happened. He realized that every time he had fallen, every time he had paused, every time he had hesitated, he was still here, still breathing, still capable, still able to choose differently. And that realization felt like someone quietly placing a hand on his shoulder and saying, "You can still change your story." That was the moment he understood that it wasn't too late. It was just time. Days later, he witnessed something that shifted him even more. He saw a man who was older, heavier, struggling, but still fighting to reinvent himself. This man wasn't fast, wasn't perfect, wasn't confident, yet he tried again every single day. And watching that, he felt something powerful rise inside him. If someone with more years behind them than ahead could still start again, then what excuse did he have? He realized that too late is a lie told by fear, and not now is a lie told by comfort. The only truth was this: the window of change is always open, until you stop reaching for it. But he also saw the other side. He watched people nod at motivational videos, feel inspired for a moment, then go back to scrolling, back to waiting, back to wishing. And he realized something terrifying. It's not lack of time that kills dreams. It's the illusion that you'll always have more of it. And for the first time, he refused to let that illusion steal another day from him. He stood up, looked at himself differently, and said the words he had been scared to believe. "I'm not too late. I'm just getting started." That single decision became the turning point he had spent years searching for. There comes a moment in every person's life when the noise fades, the excuses die, and the truth finally lands with full weight. No one is coming to save you. And strangely, that moment isn't depressing. It's liberating. Because the day you stop waiting for a miracle is the day you finally become one. Think back to every setback you've ever faced, the disappointments, the people who doubted you, the nights you questioned your worth. Those moments weren't punishments, they were preparation. Life was sharpening you, shaping you, molding you into someone who could carry the destiny you keep dreaming about. But destiny doesn't respond to hope. It responds to action, to courage, to the decision to stand up one more time than you've fallen. Imagine standing at the edge of a massive door, the door to the life you want. It's heavy, old, nearly impossible to move. Most people push it once, get tired, and walk away. But some, the ones who change their destiny, they push again, and again, and again, until finally the door cracks open. And suddenly, the world that once felt impossible becomes reachable. This is that moment for you. The moment you decide you won't keep living on autopilot. The moment you stop letting your past define you. The moment you start choosing the life you want instead of settling for the life you were handed. Because destiny isn't written in the stars. It's written in your habits, your mindset, your decisions, your discipline. Every day from this point forward, you have two choices: repeat the same patterns or rise into a new identity. And every time you choose the harder option, every time you choose growth instead of comfort, every time you choose discipline over distraction, you move one step closer to the version of you that already exists in your imagination. And here's the truth no one admits. The life you want isn't far away. It's one decision you've been avoiding, one fear you've been letting win, one habit you haven't committed to yet. Change that, and your destiny changes with it. Before this video ends, I want you to pause for a moment and think about something powerful. Your future is still unwritten. No matter how messy your past is, no matter how many times you've fallen short, no matter how long you've stayed stuck, there is a version of you that still believes, still hopes, still wants more. And that version is calling you right now.
You don't have to transform your whole life tonight. You just have to take one step, one choice that aligns with the person you want to become. That's how every comeback story begins. Quietly, privately, with a single decision that no one else notices until they notice everything about you has changed. So here's your call to rise. Don't let this video be just motivation that fades in an hour. Let it be a trigger, a line in the sand, a moment you look back on one day and say, that's when everything shifted. Start today, not tomorrow, not next Monday, not when life calms down. Your future self is waiting for you on the other side of consistency, discipline, and courage. And every day you delay is another day you stay chained to a destiny you've already outgrown. If this message lit something inside you, then don't let that flame die. Hit subscribe so you never miss the mindset shifts, the breakdowns, the strategies that will keep you moving forward. Drop a comment and tell me one action you're committing to today, not someday. Your story isn't over. Your potential isn't gone. Your future is still yours to build. This is your call to rise. Now answer it.